Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by viewers like you.
This week on New Mexico in Focus, Seeds of Change. New Mexico legend Arturo Sandoval tells us about the origins of Earth Day and what's happened with environmental activism since 1970.
Spark just to get it going, and that's what Earth Day did, and I think that's still the largest single protest event in U.S. history. There was 20 million people at over 10,000 sites.
And we break down new allegations of state transparency law violations against Bernalillo County elected officials. New Mexico in Focus starts now. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm executive producer Jeff Proctor. The search for the next Bernalillo County manager might soon be in jeopardy. Last week, the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government asked the State Department of Justice to investigate claims the Bernalillo County Commission violated the Open Meetings Act. The question at the center of the nonprofit's request: did 3 of the county's 5 commissioners come up with a plan to hire the next county manager behind closed doors and an illegal rolling quorum? In the second half of today's show, I sit down with NMFOG Executive Director Melanie Majors to talk about why public business should always be conducted with the door open. But first, let's take a step back to a moment in 1970 when New Mexico's Arturo Sandoval was recruited to help organize the nation's first Earth Day, a massive moment that helped incite cultural and congressional action. In a wide-ranging conversation with Our Land's Laura Paskus, Sandoval talks about civil rights, the early days of the environmental movement, how environmental action has been thwarted over the past few decades, and his vision for the future. He also talks about the Center of Southwest Culture and 2 of its current projects, Story Riders and Sembrando Salud.
Arturo Sandoval, welcome and thank you.
Thank you. It's really great to be here with you, Laura, and long time no see, but you and I have known each other for a long, long time, so thanks for having me here.
Thank you. I'm glad that all of our conversations over coffee over the years, now we can share with other people. Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
So we're going to go way back. You grew up in Espanola.
Correct.
And you were living here in Albuquerque in 1970 when Dennis Hayes called you and asked you to help organize the nation's first Earth Day. What were you doing here in Albuquerque, and what was that call like?
I was attending UNM. I graduated high school in 1965, so I had attended UNM for a year, I think my freshman, maybe my first 2 years, and then my mom died, and that took a lot of wind out of my sails, so I took a year off and I became a VISTA volunteer in Guadalupe County for about a year and a half. Then I came back to UNM in the fall of '68. So I was at UNM and I had helped organize the United Mexican American Students at UNM beginning in fall of '68, and I was very active there, and I was very active on campus. And I got a call out of the blue one day from Andy Garling. Actually, he was one of the organizers of Earth Day, and they were looking for someone to organize the Western U.S. And they had a couple of candidates out of the West Coast, UCLA or USC, but I don't think they were happy with them. And they heard about me through one of my college professors at UNM, who said, well, he's a really crackerjack, whatever, he said something good. And so they called me, they interviewed me for about an hour. I didn't know what Earth Day was, but we had that long conversation, maybe an hour on the phone. Then they went off to talk among themselves. Then they called me back and we did another hour, maybe 2 hours on the phone. And then finally we agreed. I said, you know what, this is worth doing. So literally within 3 days, I was on a plane to DC to start organizing Earth Day. Yeah. That's how I got involved.
Yeah.
Phone call, 2 phone calls.
When we used to talk on the phone with each other.
That's right.
Back in the day.
When you had landlines.
Yeah. So now, more than a half century later, do you think that the movement was on the right track, went astray? Like, where are we today?
Well, I think it was fantastic movement back in the late 60s and 70s, the Black Civil Rights Movement, the Chicano Civil Rights Movement, the indigenous civil rights movement, the women's movement for equal rights, were all flourishing, and and there was an enormous amount of activity, direct action by people. We could organize and protest and actually get results and change things both locally and nationally. So Earth Day had that kind of impact because there was this underlying unease, I think, in the country, but people didn't feel there was any way for them to express their unease at what was happening to the environment. And Earth Day, I think, provided the spark. It was ready to explode, but there needed to be a spark just to get it going. And that's what Earth Day did. And I think that's still the largest single protest event in U.S. history. There was 20 million people at over 10,000 sites. Wow. So it just blew up way beyond what we had hoped to do. And it had big impact. You know, we got the Clean Air Act out of it. We got the Clean Water Act out of it. President Nixon, of all people, created the Environmental Protection Agency. We got the Endangered Species Act. And in the period of the 70s, immediately following Earth Day, in that decade and a half following Earth Day, Congress enacted over 50 major environmental protection laws. So it looked to us at that time, me and the other organizers, that we had made a significant impact and that the environment was going to be in a better place. And for a short period, it was. Yeah. And then something happened over the last 30 years. And what happened was that we ran into an enemy that was much better organized than us, much more disciplined, and that was unfettered capitalism. So unfettered capitalism, the capitalists are very, very disciplined in their approach and their political strategies. They're very, very good at it. They have enormous resources. And what they proceeded to do, and where we are today, is they have completely suborned the legislative, the judicial, and the executive branches of the federal government. And the problem that can arise with capitalism and that we're facing today in the environment is that if capitalism is unfettered, if there's no balance, if there's no control to try to rein in the excesses, then we end up with what we have today, which is really serious climate change issues. And that's what's happened to this country. So Supreme Court has been completely suborned by capitalism and unfettered capitalism, which is not a good thing for humans and other living things. Same thing with Congress. We read all the time. 3 weeks ago in the New York Times, they wrote a piece about how not just here in the U.S., but globally, the majority of people, for example, want gun control. Certainly in the U.S., the overwhelming majority of Americans want some control here. I mean, we're killing each other like it's going out of style. But despite the fact that there's huge support for it among the populace, we have never gotten any meaningful gun control laws passed. Why? Because the capitalists have completely taken over our electoral systems, the central government that we as local people, as common people, rely on to check, to rein in the excesses of capitalism. Those balances are gone at this point in time, for the most part. I'm probably painting it a little more dire than it actually is, but it's not good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in serious problem. So back when we were 22-year-olds or 20-year-olds or whatever doing Earth Day, we still thought that we could work within the system and that all we had to do was reform it. Get good people in, elect them to Congress, they'll have good values, and they'll reflect the will of the people. And that did work, I think, through the 1970s to a certain extent, not completely, but to a certain extent, in the 80s. But then since then, we've seen a steady and almost complete erosion of the checks and balances, and that's why we went off the tracks. We're totally off the tracks today.
Yeah, I think in the early 2000s, I interviewed Russell Train, who was an early EPA administrator, and I asked him, do you think that any of these laws could be passed today? And he said, no, because as soon as the lobbyists didn't know what was happening at that moment, and now, the lobbyists are lined up making sure that things don't happen. So I mean, your experience, your analysis is dire, but I think it's completely spot on.
And you know what's happened, as I say, capitalists are very smart. So now if you look at, I mean, there's 139 countries that are going to be participating in this year's Earth Day, and that's probably 1.2 billion people across the globe. But despite that, what's happened is the major polluters, whoever they are, Exxon, I mean, we could go on all day naming them, they just took over Earth Day. So they say they're green. They claim to be very eco-friendly, and they run ads saying how friendly they are and how eco-friendly, and they have their staff in Chevron t-shirts out planting trees to show, but they're destroying the planet. While they're doing this, 98% of the time they're completely destroying the planet.
Yeah.
With extractive industries and what else. So they're very smart in how they co-opt. Capitalism's great at co-opting any threat to its existence. And that's what happened with the environmental movement. So yes, we're going to have 1.2 billion people participating in one form or another. Some people might just be picking up trash. Others might be doing something much more significant. But despite that, we're still not making headway to change the excesses of capitalism around the globe.
Yeah. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. We're going to come back to this conversation, but locally, so here in New Mexico, over the decades, you have done so much work: civil rights, economic development, agriculture, culture. We could do an entire series on the work that you've done over the decades, but I'd like to talk about two of the current projects at the Center of Southwest Culture, which you founded, related to gardening and bike riding. If you would talk about those two programs and why they're so important.
Well, let me start with our bike riding program. That was an idea. I had a young man who kept coming to me with ideas for wanting to do something, especially with children of color, indigenous and Mexicano, Chicano kids, starting here in Albuquerque, because he was working in the school system, and he saw that the after-school programs tended to just warehouse the kids. So they were having long days waiting for their parents to pick them up at 5 or 5:30 after school let out at 2:30 or 3. So he finally came up with this idea of saying, what if we get them active? You know, let's get them on bicycles. Let's teach them how to repair bikes. Let's teach them how to build bikes. And then let's build a curriculum that is really sort of STEAM-based, but it's through a completely cultural lens. So it's an indigenous viewpoint. It's a Mexicano, Chicano viewpoint of science and math and all of that. So we teach them how to ride bikes. We teach them how to repair bikes, build bikes. Then we take them out for rides in the bosque here in Albuquerque. And we have curanderas waiting for them to talk about medicinal and traditional herbs and their uses in our community over the centuries. And then we have scientists that come down and meet them in the bosque also and talk to them about the hydrology and the drainage of the Rio Grande Basin and what does that mean and what is hydrology. And then we have great artists that do found art. They go in and build art pieces with natural materials that are in the bosque, beautiful, and we take pictures of those. And then the kids come back and write that up. They write up what did they learn, what did they like about what they learned. And then at the end of the program, they invite their parents, and the parents go out, and the kids each teach their parents something they learned. So some kids like to talk about the herbs. They'll talk to their parents about it. And then when the program's over, each child and each parent gets a free bike from our program. So it's a great program. And another part of that Story Riders program is, we call it Adelitas. It's for Mexican women. It's for women and their daughters. Because globally we know that most bicycling that's done outside of the U.S. is done by mostly men who use the bikes to go to work, etc. And women tend to be homebound because they don't have a way to get around. So we're teaching Mexicana immigrants how to ride bikes, and we teach them bike safety. We do the same thing with them, and at the end of the program, they take their own bike home, and we hope they don't run into any light posts. But so that's a really great program because it's so joyful. It's great for the kids, and we just love the impact it's having on our families. Another great program is our backyard gardening program, which is called Sembrando Salud. So this year we'll have 3,200 people around the state participating in backyard gardens. So the idea was one of our economic development division programs is we're trying to create rural economies and recreate local economies that have sort of atrophied into transfer economies. So there's really nothing going on that create any kind of income or wealth for people. So the long result of that is those communities die, and these are land-based traditional, and the Pueblos have trouble with that also. So we had some farmers selling at farmers markets, and I noticed when I went that it was very expensive. If you buy locally organic, it's not subsidized by the federal government like agribusiness is, so they get subsidized to a huge extent, so that's why it's cheaper for us to buy those vegetables than it is locally grown. So I noticed that none of our people were buying at these farmers markets, primarily because of the price barrier. So it occurred to me that why don't we just eliminate the middleman and go straight to growing our own. So we have these 3,200 people this year will be growing organic vegetables. We provide the seeds, we provide the drip system, we provide soil enhancers to get them started. We teach them how to plant, what companion planting is. We teach them how to compost. We teach them how to harvest seeds before they eat everything. Let some of them go to seed. And it's just great results because it gets kids away from always being on the iPad, and the dad gets off from watching the TV or whatever, and the family really starts rebuilding their bonds. It's been a beautiful thing to see, but they're eating healthy and they're actually saving money on their food budget, and we're tracking this. We're doing evaluations of this to actually see what are those savings, and they're becoming very significant. So yeah, we're very, very proud of both of those programs.
Yeah, I love both of those programs because, like you said, they're joyful. When we're talking about these like big, huge issues, it's nice to remember that on the ground, on wheels, in our gardens, joyfulness is a part of all of this work.
And really the point of what the work we do at the center, Laura, isn't just to do these programs, but there's real values behind it, and that is we want to get our communities to become as self-sufficient as possible. So we're trying to build small silos of complete circles, small economic circles that are self-sustaining, so that if another pandemic comes, when the first one hit, people went to the stores and there were shortages for a while. Beans and rice were gone. Certainly toilet paper couldn't be found. So what we're trying to do is create the capacity, especially in rural New Mexico communities, to be able to grow their own food, and then out of learning how to do that and work collectively to do that, then how can then they take on the local school district to make definite changes? How do they impact their county commission and say, we haven't had our roads paved in 40 years, what's going on here? So we're trying to empower our own communities, and our hope is that we keep building these small little drops that eventually become a little stream and maybe eventually become a river.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that the person is qualified, that the person has the background, the understanding, and the knowledge to be able to do this job. But we also want to make sure that the hiring process is fair. We want to make sure that people who, maybe people of color, maybe different genders, etc., that everyone's given an equal footing and an equal opportunity to be considered for a job where they are qualified to complete and do well in.
For decades, you have been someone who has talked about decolonization and education. And I've seen you quoted about the process of decolonizing, understanding how colonization works, and also how it dehumanizes the colonizer. So why is decolonization and education around decolonization so critical to understanding capitalism and also environmental injustices?
Yeah, those are all tied together. The terrible thing about colonization is that for them to be able to maintain, even though they're a minority, for example, the British were a vast minority in India, but they were able to rule it because of the process of colonization, where they dehumanize the person whose country they take over and whose resources they steal for their own uses. And then over time, they teach the people that they have colonized, that they have conquered, that they're second rate, that they're inferior, and all of the tools they have at their disposal, media, everything is used to keep hammering the idea to the colonized people that you are subhuman, you are not acceptable, you're poor because of your own failings, it's your fault, I'm wealthy, what's wrong with you, how come if I made it, why can't you make it? And they trot out examples every so often of a brown face that has made $1 million and is a multimillionaire. And the phrase we use in America over and over is only in America. And they trot out immigrants, say, oh yeah, only in America. Well, that's not true. There's people going from poverty to wealth all over the globe in every single country in every economy. But it's part of the myth, part of the lie of colonization, that America is a shining light on the hill, and that we're the guardians of justice. And the reality is the U.S. since the end of World War II has been responsible for murdering somewhere between 20 and 30 million people in proxy wars and in direct interventions. Need I say Gaza and Israel today? But we can go on all day. Haiti, for years and years, every time we didn't like what was going on in Haiti, we would send in the troops, and now it's completely collapsing because of this continued intervention. The other issue is the border, which is really a hot topic. But why are all these Central Americans trying to get to the U.S.? Because we invented gunboat diplomacy. The U.S., the Monroe Doctrine at the beginning of the 1800s, where we told Europe, this is our area to exploit. And if we didn't like the democratically elected government in, let's say, Guatemala, we used gunboat diplomacy. Literally, we sent in warships to overthrow freely elected governments. We did it as recently as Chile with Allende. We just gave the okay to Pinochet in the military. We sent in the CIA, and we just literally bombed him, and we killed him. That was all Henry Kissinger. That was the U.S. We just keep doing it. And then we act shocked that why don't they just stay in their own country? Because we've stolen everything from them. That's why they're here, because we have their wealth. So it's complicated. I'm making it more simple than it is, but that's the general trend.
Yeah. So we've talked about this in the past, you have a post-capitalist, post-modernity vision for society, especially for indigenous and Mexicano, Chicano people and working people in New Mexico. And you've talked to me about this idea of back to the future.
Yes.
Will you talk about this vision?
Well, yes, because future sociologists now are just starting to write about prefigurative models for a post-capitalist economy. For me, it means, in New Mexico, it means for our communities, going back to the future. That is, all of our Puebloan communities still exist and always existed and lived in communal models. They had kivas, they had clans, they had kinship, and they still have that. So they were accustomed as a way of operating in the world and with each other to do it as a communal exercise always. And in land-based Chicano communities here in New Mexico, we had acequias, which are communal models. Land grants were communal models. And those were economic models, not just social models, but religion, economy, social life, all of our social interactions in both our indigenous communities in New Mexico and the land-based Chicano communities that have been here about 400 years. Were communal models. That's how we lived. And we've gotten away with it. We've gotten away from it because of the capitalist system and the emphasis on individual achievement and my achievement, my success at your failure, and that kind of stuff. So what we preach in our economic development models and in our work every day is, let's just go back to the future. So we form co-ops. We try to get them to incorporate as co-ops, which the capitalist system still permits. They're communal models of owning the means of production. So we get them. So we don't call them clans or kinship, but our communities are very familiar, and they have not forgotten how to work cooperatively. So and we're not always successful because the impacts of colonization have created huge destruction. We've internalized colonization, so people don't feel they're worthy of success. I mean, it's and we medicate ourselves. So we have a huge alcohol, fentanyl, heroin problem all over rural New Mexico in our communities. And it's wiping them out. It's hollowing out our rural communities, and we're trying to fight against that.
Yeah. So This is like a conversation that I feel like we all want to have, or many of us want to have, and we don't know how to. So I thought you and I could have it. So I feel like something that many of us struggle with is divisiveness and disinformation. And I would love to hear your thoughts on how we recognize and respect one another's differences while also building relationships and sowing love and figuring out ways to sustain long-term movements against systems like capitalism that harm people and the environment.
And I wish there was one simple answer to that, but there isn't. It's a complex, capitalism is very complex and constantly changing and adapting to meet threats to its existence. But I think we have to do a lot of things. There's no one silver bullet. So I think there's a lot of really fantastic communities and peoples all actively working within the existing political system, and they're having impact. Here in New Mexico, I know there's a lot of groups that are working to change issues, and I think they've changed the makeup of the legislature. There's younger, more progressive people now in leadership positions in both the House and Senate. And that's a good thing, because overall we're getting better legislation that comes out of that is helping poorer communities and more impacted communities. So we have to do the ongoing work every day, like, voting, blah, blah. I don't think so. We can get cynical. It's easy to get cynical. We have to do that, but we can also do our own things. We have to start creating our own systems that are maybe small scale, but that can grow over time, that we own, that we control, that benefit us directly, and that force us to become smarter, more adept, and more agile in everything we do. Love is the most powerful force in the world. I went through a period when I was first starting out as a young activist where I hated white people, or I thought I did. And I went through about a year where I told all my white friends, don't call me, I never want to see you again. All white people are devils, and I'll run them over if I see them out on the street. Oh, of course I didn't. But I did go through a period where I felt hatred in my heart. And then after about a year, I noticed that it was doing a lot of damage to myself. So I decided that's not a good path, and that really the only way for us to succeed is we have to work on ourselves, understand if there's internal colonization issues, work them out. It's not easy to face ourselves and be honest about who we are and what our failings might be and how we become better. And then it's real hard to have the courage to open yourself to others and just say, you know what, now I try to follow what Martin Luther King said, which is, in his famous speech, we should judge each other by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. So that's the mantra we use at the center. Like, I don't care what color, shape, I don't care who, I don't care what kind of dog you have. Really, are you a person of good soul and good heart? And if you are, I'm willing to engage with you, and I don't care what color you are or anything else. And I think that's the path for us to find the humanity in each other, and then try to nurture that, respecting boundaries, but still being open to others. The reason there's so much hatred, I think, in the world is we're always looking for how we're different, instead of the fact that we're these little creatures on this beautiful small planet spinning through space, and we're earthlings. And I call all my Earth Day buddies Earthlings when I write them, and when I call them, I say, "Hello, Earthlings." But that's all we are. There's really no difference between us, and we should celebrate the cultural uniqueness of each other. But at the end of the day, we're on this ship together, and if we don't figure out how to fix it, we're all going to go under together.
Yeah, Arturo, I appreciate all that I've learned from you over the years. I appreciate all you've done for New Mexico, and I really appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks so much. It's been fun, and let's do it again sometime. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks again to Arturo and Laura for that interview. In 2016, the Pueblo of Santa Ana paid $30 million for 60,000 acres of their own ancestral lands that had been privatized and then grazed for more than a century. Now they're using traditional knowledge and Western science to protect Tamaya Kwikinipu for traditional uses. Along the way, the Pueblo is protecting their cultural heritage, restoring grasslands and springs, removing fence lines, and studying and helping species like mountain lion, elk, deer, pronghorn, and more. In an Hourland special airing on NMPBS on April 25th, Laura visits Tamaya Kwikinipu. Here's a sample of that piece.
And in Our Land special, we visit Tamaya Kwikinipu, lands the Pueblo of Santa Ana bought back. Now they're restoring those lands, protecting wildlife, and sustaining the Pueblo's future.
This place connects me to the past. Growing up, you hear all these stories of, where we came from, where we've been, but like kind of seeing it physically it puts a bigger impact. It's kind of like eye-opening for me. So this kind of just like reinforces that wanting to know who you are, where you come from.
The entire history dating back thousands of years is represented out here. In contrast to archaeologists mostly doing research and excavation, the Historic Preservation Office is really more about preservation, stewardship of cultural sites, and protecting them.
It's telling our story from the beginning, but then it's also adding in, the present. Our story is just getting bigger and bigger, as the years go by. It's small. I don't even fit in there. You can see the hearth where they built the fire, so you can kind of imagine all the things they did back then, just living. It's just really cool, kind of brings you back or kind of take a step back in time.
This is a place I grew up. Just seeing it's pretty much night and day, because before everyone would come in and dump their trash or ATV, dirt bike around here, and now there's grass where you don't see grass. There you could see deer and elk, and I've never seen deer and elk out here until a couple of years ago.
Again, that Hourland special will run April 25th at 7 p.m. on NMPBS. Last week, the New Mexico Foundation for Open Government asked the state's Department of Justice to investigate claims the Bernalillo County Commission violated the Open Meetings Act. A spokesperson for Attorney General Raul Torres says the department has received the complaint and it has been assigned for review. The request follows a turbulent week for Bernalillo County. During the commission's public meeting on April 9th, Commission Chair Barbara Baca introduced a hiring committee to search for the next county manager, a role that will soon be vacant this summer. Commissioners Walt Benson and Stephen Michael Quesada spoke out against the measure, saying a search committee should have an appointed member from each commissioner. Frustrated, Commissioner Quesada left the meeting early before that matter and the county's $350 million budget came up for a vote. Days later, NMFOG asked the AG to investigate after receiving calls that commissioners used an illegal rolling quorum. If you don't know what that is, you're not alone. So in my interview with FOG Executive Director Melanie Majors, we start with some definitions. Melanie, I really appreciate you making the time to chat with me about government transparency. I figure this will be just a televised extension of a conversation you and I unfortunately have had for too many years. So let's start here. Why is FOG concerned about the way the Bernalillo County Commission has decided to choose its next county manager?
Jeff, one of the things that FOG is always concerned about is our mission. And our mission is to advocate, to educate, and to litigate on behalf of the public's right to know. And that extends to the public's right to know what their government is doing through its public meetings and through its public records.
Gotcha. So let's dig a little bit deeper. I have read this phrase, and of course you and I are very familiar with it, but for viewers who don't understand, one of your concerns with this process is that there may have been what's called a rolling quorum. Melanie, what is a rolling quorum and why did the legislature make it illegal?
quorum is defined as a quorum of a public body that meets outside of the actual boardroom. Maybe they have a telephone tree, maybe they meet in a different format. But if, for example, 3 members of a 5-member board discuss their business in telephone calls, where one person will call and get buy-in, and then they call a second, and then they call a third, that's called a rolling quorum because they've literally made all the decisions, they've made all of the discussion private, and the public has not been allowed to be a part of that discussion.
And is it that sort of public interest that had the legislature crafting language around rolling quorums into the Open Meetings Act? Is that sort of the heart of why that's something that these boards aren't allowed to do?
I think that's the whole basis of not only the Open Meetings Act, but the Open Records Act, the Inspection of Public Records, is that it is the public's right to know. The public pays for these services, they pay salaries, they pay for the operations. The public has a right to know what its government is doing. And to be open and accountable and transparent is the basic building block of democracy.
Gotcha. Before we get to Fogg's complaint, I want to add just a little bit of context here. The Bernalillo County manager oversees an annual budget of nearly $350 million, one of the 30 largest county jails in the nation, and the only government-run, medically staffed drug detox facility in a place where there's enough dope on the street to stun a team of velociraptors. Why is it so important that the public be in the loop when this person is chosen?
Probably have to ask the other question, why don't you want the public in the loop when you're doing this kind of an appointment? We want to make sure that the person is qualified, that the person has the background, the understanding, and the knowledge to be able to do this job. But we also want to make sure that the hiring process is fair. We want to make sure that people who, maybe people of color, maybe different genders, etc., that everyone's given an equal footing and an equal opportunity to be considered for a job where they are qualified to complete and do well in.
Okay, I appreciate you adding that little bit of context. Let's talk about the complaint that Fogg has filed with the state attorney general. What exactly are y'all alleging, and what evidence do you have to back up your claims so far?
We came into the office last Wednesday, and one of the services that Fogg offers is a free hotline where people can call with concerns that they have about how their government is working, whether it is a meeting, whether it is records, whether there are other questions. We may not be able to address some of those issues, but we might be able to help them find what they're looking for. When we came in last Wednesday, the hotline started ringing off the hook. People were calling and alleging that there may have been some misconduct done by several members of the Bernalillo County Commission. We checked the sources that we had. We looked into what we think is a rolling quorum. We actually looked at some evidence from a news release that was distributed by members of the commission prior to the meeting last week. And at that point, we said, you know, we need to have the Attorney General weigh in and see if this is in fact a rolling quorum or if this is just people who are disgruntled making noise.
Gotcha. What else are you hoping to learn beyond what you've seen in published news accounts and other sources that you've got? And what have y'all done to learn more about how this process has worked?
Well, we actually asked for a series of emails. We filed a formal inspection of public records request for emails between a certain time frame, and we asked that the emails, if they contain certain keywords, that those emails be provided to us.
I will be very excited to see what comes back from your IPA request, Melanie. What does Fogg hope for in terms of process and resolution from here?
Well, we hope that this is actually a process where the Attorney General looks at all of the evidence, not only the evidence that we may be able to find, but evidence that they can also find. We hope that people who may have information come forward and talk about it. And we hope that the Bernalillo County Commission, if they are found to have had a rolling quorum, will definitely take the Attorney General's determination and remedy the situation.
Let's talk a little bit about what I have always perceived as a bit of a flaw in the system, or a ghost in the machine here, if you will. Let's just say hypothetically that the AG looks into this, determines that there was an illegal rolling quorum, and admonishes the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners in a findings letter. Unfortunately, those are not binding. They don't force the Board of County Commissioners to do anything different. What would the next step be if you got a determination like that? What does FOG do next?
Well, the next step is always to look at all of the evidence and then, if need be, to file in court. That is the final step in the remedy process. And there is an allowance for that for the enforcement in the Open Meetings Act. Whether FOG would actually take action on that would have to be determined, but that is a final step that can be made.
Gotcha. And your experience and FOG's experience have positive findings letters that arrive at the same determination that the organization has in the past. Have those made good pieces of evidence if you decide that you'd like to file in court?
I honestly can't answer that because I don't know how many, I haven't gone back through all the records to see exactly how many lawsuits we have filed concerning open meetings. I do know just recently we had filed a complaint with the Attorney General concerning an action that was taken by the Eastern New Mexico Board of Regents. And we had asked that they look into what we felt was action that was taken in a closed meeting. The Attorney General launched an investigation, agreed with what we had thought had occurred, and sent a letter to the regents at Eastern New Mexico University telling them that the actions that they had taken were not legal as they were not done in public, and directing the Board of Regents to meet again and take up the items on a new agenda in a new meeting.
That's a fabulous result and a bit of good news for the show. We don't have enough of that. One thing I want to talk about is timelines, Melanie. In my experience, it usually takes about 6 months to complete one of these investigations. Although I will say that I think that clock has sped up a bit under Attorney General Torres. That could get a little bit sticky here. The current county manager is leaving at the end of June. Obviously, the board would like the new person in before then. So I just wonder, have you had any indication with the State Department of Justice, the Attorney General, about timelines here? Is this something that it seems like they might prioritize?
Haven't seen anything where there are not how quickly this will be resolved. We do know several years ago when Attorney General Balderas had a similar complaint about an issue in an open meeting with the University of New Mexico Regents. He reached out very quickly, did his investigation, and determined they had acted outside of the Open Meetings Act, and they were required to put the item on the agenda, discuss it in public, etc. We know on the issue with Eastern New Mexico, that meeting was held in January. We submitted that request soon after that meeting was held, and we heard about that request at the 1st of April. So there may be some reasoning for the Attorney General to move forward on it a little quicker. We don't know.
Okay. Let's hope for a speedy resolution on this one, particularly given the importance of the position as I laid out before. Melanie, I'd like to end with a little plug for the Open Meetings Act. Its twin transparency law, which you mentioned earlier, the Inspection of Public Records Act, tends to get all the headlines, the flowers, the litigation, all that kind of stuff. Why should people care just as much about the Open Meetings Act as we do the Inspection of Public Records Act?
Well, again, Jeff, these two pieces of legislation that were enacted by the legislature back in 1978, they're not new. They've been around for a while, and they're around because it makes a difference. If people can attend a public meeting and know what is on the agenda and know what is going to be discussed and can feel good about what their commission is doing, what their city council is doing, is what their school board is doing, it goes a long way to foster a trust in not only the process, but trust in democracy. It's important.
Melanie, thank you so much for the chat, and we'll be keeping our eyes on how all of this plays out going forward. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, and thank you for having FOG as a guest today.
Happy to do it. Thanks again to Melanie for that conversation. Now, County Commission Chair Barbara Baca declined to be interviewed for this week's show. In an email, Baca declined to comment on Fogg's complaint because she hasn't seen it, but adds, quote, "I assure you that the search process for the county manager has been and will continue to be an open, transparent, and inclusive process," end quote. Let's change gears to end the show. This fall, the Rio Grande corridor will be planted with thousands of milkweed plants, thanks in part to students from Sandia High School who set aside their textbooks for pots of soil and seeds. The River of Monarchs project is meant to help restore the Rio Grande's habitat and make the land more hospitable for the monarch butterfly.
We're gonna plant in the greenhouse, and you'll see these plants here in the greenhouse for the next few months. So they will get planted next fall, and that will give them lots of time to grow and get nice roots so that we can put them out in the field. All right, so you guys can head in the greenhouse. Is anyone excited about mixing soil and getting really dirty?
I got so messy today. There was a lot of dirt. But it was fun, very fun.
I love monarchs. I have been interested in them forever. And we're helping the monarchs because there's lots of invasive species in New Mexico that are interfering with the milkweed's growth. The monarchs, caterpillars can only eat off of the milkweed, so it's crucial that we plant those milkweed out there in areas where the butterflies will be migrating from the US to Mexico. We need to get 2 species of milkweed planted that are native to New Mexico by the rivers. That way the monarchs can lay their eggs and caterpillars can hatch and feed off of them. And I see this beautiful little creature that is pollinating different plants and really helping our environment. I think all species are crucial to keep an ecosystem running, because if one of those species falls down, it's a chain reaction, and so species after species, plant or animal, is going to get affected. Everything's connected somehow in some way.
In 2024, they're gonna plant it by the Bosque, and yeah, we're just gonna wait for the plants to grow in the greenhouse.
I think this is really important because our environment isn't the best. So planting in general is really good, especially having like a community, like a school, come together and plant. It gets the job done faster.
When we went out today to plant the milkweeds, we had several stations where students were split up into different groups. The first group was preparing the soil to get it ready for the seeds. When they got a wheelbarrow a bit full, they went to the next group, and what that group was doing was taking the seed trays that have 98 pots each. Oh, look at that. Yeah. And we were filling those with soil. Okay. We were tamping them down to get the air pockets out and kind of topping them off. When that was finished, we went to the third and last station, is where we brought them in physically into the greenhouse, and then the students were taking 2 or 3 milkweed seeds each and putting them into each of the pots very carefully.
So if you're doing seedlings, you can do like 3 of them like this, just put them all together. We don't want any more than about 1 inch of space between the top and the top of the pot and the top of the soil, and then just cover them up. So an entire tray. Thank you.
And that took the longest part, was that step. And then of course watering throughout this whole process.
This is all new to them.
I'm sure most of them have not had any experience like this whatsoever, and so I think between myself and folks at the Institute of Applied Ecology, just to kind of show them it is just dirt, you know. You do have to do things right, but if, you know, a little dirt falls out, it's okay, you know, like if one seed falls, it's okay. And it's not so serious that they can't crack a smile or something, you know, like it's gonna work out. Like we're still planting thousands of milkweeds. There's no divorce between having enjoyment and doing something important. One of my goals is to just kind of open their eyes to just how amazing a place New Mexico is. Like environmentally speaking, we have so many biomes that meet right here. You know, Albuquerque is on one of 5 rift valleys in the world. We have more volcanoes than almost any other state, and it's such a great place. And so our natural area out here is just nothing but native species. Monarchs are one of those, and the milkweeds are one of those. By protecting and restoring some of this habitat for milkweeds, we are also inadvertently protecting it for many other species. And so I think maybe the importance of intact habitat is crucial. A lot of vacant lots are going to have like your handful of, you know, tumbleweeds, goatheads, ragweed, these invasive species. And so if we're out there actively planting some of the natives and get them a foothold and get them established. And natives beget natives beget natives. You know, milkweeds are going to help the goldenrods to come in, and the grama grass. Just kind of like a snowball effect, hopefully, right? So one native species protecting that one's going to protect this one, and because that one comes back, the third one comes in, and hopefully we'll see this project just kind of blossom and grow. I think for me, a really important part of being part of this project is I like teaching the theory of biology, stuff from the book, but instead of just lecturing on the steps of mitosis or the importance of keystone species, I can go out there and say, here kids, let's go out and let's actually work with this and let's make a difference with this.
Yeah. They're staying in the greenhouse until May, well, until the summer.
Not only even planting the seed, but getting the seed ready to wake up, waking the seeds up, planting the seeds, taking care of these plants for months and months and months until they are mature enough and large enough to take care of themselves in the wild. We get to go out to the wild, we get to plant these in these compromised, right now, ecosystems and watch how what we've done is going to help restore these habitats. And by doing so, it's going to be more of a resource for the monarchs, many other species, and my students get to be one of the steps in the many steps it takes to kind of bring the native New Mexico ecosystems back to where they should be. I can go out there and say, here kids, here's how we helped, and here's how it's going to make an impact, positive, and this is how you're going to be able to see it. You made this happen, and so I think that is, I mean, how do you put a price on that? You know, for students, I think that's great.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Funding for New Mexico in Focus provided by the viewers like you.